Experience Karen Hunter
in a completely different way.
Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed. Yeah, I was trying to give you the hour off. I was like, well, I'm going to be talking about Chuck Schumer. You're like, nope, I'm talking about Chuck Schumer. You talking about Chuck Schumer? I'm talking about Chuck. So I appreciate you wanting to be here, but it's so important that we talk to people. So on last week, early in the week, I had Don Calloway on, who is a lobbyist, by trade, lawyer, right. Washington entrenched guy, right. Does all these negotiations behind the scenes. And we were talking about the potential shutdown, and he was team, we can't shut this down. Right. And the way he talked about it, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah, you don't want to give people the ability to do things in the dark without eyeballs. At least if the government's running, you can see, even if we don't have a lot of power and we don't have the branches of government, at least we can have people talking about what they're doing as opposed to them letting them do it in the dark. And I was like, that made sense. By the time I got to Friday, I'm talking to Roderick Morrow, and he's like, yeah, nah, somebody's got to stand up, shut it down. The people want it shut down. We got to shut it down. Chuck Schumer needs to sit down. And I was like, yeah, yeah, that's true. We got to fight even if we don't have an opportunity to win. Right. Okay. I get to Saturday, Dr. Gray Carr is like, and on Urban View Morning, actually Friday, and I hadn't listened to the show, but I was like, and he's like, no, Chuck Schumer's right. And I was like, you know what, Karen, you didn't read the op-ed. So, because he was referencing the op-ed and what made sense about it, but it led me, Dr. Black, to this notion that who do we trust? And many of us can't even trust ourselves because we're not willing to actually, not even, you can read this op-ed, but without any tertiary knowledge of politics, government, or whatever, reading this op-ed is still not going to give you insight. We don't do enough study, but we all have an opinion, and we all just, oh, that feels good. How do we arrive at making good choices when there's not a whole lot of folk willing to do the work to suss out what's right?
I'm just going to say one sentence, and because this op-ed, I think it's critical that the American public hear this. But I'm going to say this. The first thing is, I am one who believes, and I teach my class, if you haven't read 3 times more than what you are about to speak, you should be silent. Don't say more than you have read. If you talk more than you have read, right, you are ill-informed.
Okay. I like that.
And too many people do that.
How do we make that the standard? Because this is the challenge, right? Every day I'm in these spaces, we put out the phone call number. This audience is way more informed than most. So I'm always like, I love when we get callers calling in, I like that have the background of what we're talking about, and they're able to add something to the conversation. But in the wide range, because this is in many ways a secret space, a secret landing space of millions of people who are behind a paywall, kind of in community doing a thing. But then there's the masses, most of whom scrolling, doom scrolling, TikToking, IGing, getting their information from YouTube. And then they have a lot to say. And it becomes so noisy. And they're not being shut down at all. It's like blah, 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 blah,
that's right. Ooh, it's so noisy. The thing I do in my classroom that has actually worked is I tell my students, give me one sentence. You have one sentence. See, if a person has read thoroughly and a person really understands the variables of what they read, critical analysis, give me a thesis statement. Give it to me in one sentence. If you can't give it to me in one sentence, just be silent until you can. See, most people are rambling. They're not
trying to find the logic in real time.
That's right. Yes. They're searching for it because you haven't done enough research in order to have discovered it. If you've done enough research, you can tell it to me in one sentence. And give me what?
Everything.
That's right. It's really true. It's really true. One sentence.
So how do we get there? You have command over your classroom. I have command over my classroom. I have command over these airwaves.
That's
I
right.
can demand that of the people that engage. Every space that I'm
That's
going
right.
in, I'm
That's right.
zero tolerant. Here are the
That's
rules of
right.
engagement. But for the rest of the folk, is it their responsibility to demand that of the people that
Yes.
they engage in dialogue
Yes.
with? Okay.
Yes. I
Okay.
think two things. I think that's one thing. Tell folks, give me one sentence. And the second thing, tell people, cite your source. Cite your source.
That usually ends.
That's right.
That usually comes. Yeah, they use but, and then they go back to their merry-go-round. All right.
Right.
So I owe it to Chuck Schumer and everyone listening. I owe it to this audience to read his op-ed. I may
Please.
still land on where I was on Friday,
And that's okay.
but at least we've heard, and
That's
it's
right.
not personal.
That's
Okay.
right.
And let me so this is New York Times. It's a guest essay. Chuck Schumer, Trump and Musk would love a shutdown. We must not give them one. That's the hot headline. Okay. Chuck Schumer, by the way, for those of you who do not know, he's a Democrat from New York in the Senate. He's the Senate Minority Leader, meaning if the Democrats ever had control over the Senate, he'd be the Senate Majority Leader. But he's a Senate Minority Leader because they do not have the numbers. Okay. He writes, over the past 2 months, the United States has confronted a bitter truth. The federal government has been taken over by a nihilist. Let me write that word down because I'm going to have to come back to it because that's how I do. I know what it means, but we still need to have the definition. Okay. President Trump has taken a blowtorch to our country and wielded chaos like a weapon. Most Republicans in Congress, meanwhile, have caved to his every whim. The grand old party, which is the GOP, has devolved into a crowd of Trump sycophants and MAGA radicals who seem to want to burn everything to the ground. Now, Republicans' nihilism has brought us to a new brink of disaster. Unless Congress acts, the federal government will shut down Friday at midnight. Now, that did not happen. As I have said many times, there are no winners in a government shutdown, but there are certainly victims. The most vulnerable Americans, those who rely on federal programs to feed their families, get medical care, and stay financially afloat, communities that depend on government services to function will suffer. This week, Democrats offered a way out. Fund the government for another month to give appropriators more time to do their jobs. Republicans rejected this proposal. Why? Because Mr. Trump doesn't want the appropriators to do their job. He wants full control over government spending. He isn't the first president to want this, but he may be the first president since Andrew Jackson to successfully cow his party into submission.
Wow.
That leaves Democrats to a difficult decision. Either proceed with the bill before us or risk Mr. Trump throwing America into the chaos of a shutdown. This, in my view, is no choice at all. For sure, the Republican bill is a terrible option. It is deeply partisan. It doesn't address this country's needs. But even if the White House says differently, Mr. Trump and Elon Musk want a shutdown. We should not give them one. The risk of allowing the president to take even more power via a government shutdown is a much worse path. To be clear, no one on my side of the aisle wants a government shutdown. Members who support this continuing resolution do not want that. Members who oppose it do not want that. Members who oppose this resolution want the Republicans to take their responsibilities more seriously and to negotiate spending bills that will address the many needs of the American people. I respect my fellow Democrats for that. Unfortunately, this Republican Party is the party of Trump. As bad as passing the continuing resolution would be, I believe a government shutdown is far worse. First, a shutdown will give Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk permission to destroy vital government services at a significantly faster rate than they can right now. Under a shutdown, the Trump administration would have wide-ranging authority to deem whole agencies, programs, and personal non-essential furloughing staff members with no promise they would ever be rehired. The decisions about what is essential would be in practice largely up to the executive branch, which few left at agencies to check it. Nobody at the agencies could check it. Okay. Mr. Musk has reportedly said that he wants a shutdown and may already be planning how to use one to his advantage. Second, if we enter a shutdown, congressional Republicans could weaponize their majorities to cherry pick which parts of the government to reopen. In a protracted shutdown, House and Senate Republicans could bring bills to the floor to reopen only their favorite departments and agencies while leaving other vital services that they don't like to languish. Third, shutdowns mean real pain for American families, and he goes on to talk about that. Right now, Trump owns the chaos in the government. He owns the chaos in the stock market. He owns the damage happening to our economy. The stock market is failing, and consumer confidence is plummeting. In a shutdown, we would be busy fighting with Republicans over which agencies to reopen, which to keep closed, instead of debating the damage Mr. Trump's agenda is causing. I believe it is my job to make the best choice for the country to minimize the harms to the American people. Therefore, I will vote to keep the government open. Now, here's the other thing. They had the power to remove the filibuster. They had the power to do all of the things. Whether Chuck Schumer voted for or against, it didn't matter. They had all of the branches to be able to shut it down or keep it open, and they decided to keep it open. Now, it kind of is contradictory that the Republicans wanted to keep it open, which to me, I'm struggling with, Dr. Black, because if Trump and Musk wanted a shutdown, his people would have shut it down. So I'm confused by all of this, but here's what I want to say. At the end of the day, all branches of government are in the power of MAGA.
Right.
All we have is our voice. All we have are our representatives to stand up and fight in the face of this.
That's right.
So while fundamentally on paper and logically, Chuck Schumer, you are correct. Number one, you're not the best messenger for this. And you should have enough self-awareness to realize that maybe you appear, even if you're not out of touch, because I do think you know what the hell you're talking about. You're not the right messenger. And we need the right messenger at this time, unfortunately, because people don't have critical thinking skills. So charismatic leadership is important to deliver messages at this point. I don't know why we're this daft, but we are. Okay. Number two, it looked weak. And right now, the people need strong leaders to fight this tyranny.
Yes.
Publicly. You were playing regular ass politics. We ain't in a regular ass time. We need something different.
Yes.
That's my take.
I'd love to say two things, Karen. Number one, my problem, I like you, I have vacillated on this all weekend, right? I saw this, of course, immediately when it happened, and I was furious. Like, I was just like, oh my God. And then, like you, I had a buddy who was kind of saying some of what, Dr. Carr was saying, and I was like, okay, maybe. I landed on two places, and I want to be clear, I might shift in a minute too, right? But I landed on two places. The one thing I'm mad at with Schumer is this. Schumer, the team had a plan. The Democratic team had a plan. You betrayed the plan. See, you cannot betray the plan for your own personal reason. Even if your personal reason seemingly is something other than what the team agreed to. If you're on the team, you absolutely got to flow with the team if we're going to have a team effort. That's my first issue. It looks like betrayal, and it looks like betrayal because in the huddle, metaphorically speaking, this was the play we agreed on. And that's why the other Democrats are pissed off. Because everybody knows this is a complicated situation. We got that. We're in the middle of chaos. Chaos is complicated by design. Right? But if we got a team plan, we're going to execute this play. And I don't care who you are, even if you're the quarterback, right? If we've called the play, you can't just throw the ball and just hope somebody down there.
Right. It must be an audible in the huddle, though.
Exactly.
All right. Boo, 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 boo. We changed the plan, but we'll pass it along.
That's it. In the huddle, then introduce to us why we need to change this plan. Let's talk this through. Let's have one mind here. The second thing is this. Can I please, Lord, just say this? One of the things that the Democrats are going to have to do, stop making every one of your moves what you think is the opposite of Trump. Get on I'm talking to somebody, I can't hear nobody. Get on the deep yes. Black people and Democrats. Get on the offense. build a plan, and you execute it against the one you're fighting. If you're just studying their plan book and all you're going to do is the opposite, they're going to win.
That's right.
Because their plan is really the focal referent of your plan.
Come on, Dr. Black. No, I don't fancy myself offensive, but I that's all, I'm very, I'm not a defensive person.
I was going to say, you do. Karen,
I'm just like,
offense is what you do.
Boom, 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 boom. So it is frustrating sitting here watching people lose, watching us lose, because it's not people. We're in this.
That's right.
And it's like, it's so clear what to do. What are we doing? I'm so frustrated watching this, but people are standing up. Folk are doing what they need to do. Black folk not being in them streets. Thank you. Let's not do that. That's, they're goading us with a lot of things. I'm going to talk about all of the things they're goading us to try to get us into the street so they can take our lives.
And Karen, we were between a rock and a hard place. Right, because if we shut the government down, that's what Trump wants. If we didn't do it, then it seems like people capitulated to Trump. Here's the problem. When you're between a rock and a hard place, you've forgotten that you're water.
Like water. Say more.
Because water doesn't fear a rock and a hard place. Because water can seep right through it.
That's right.
Come on, somebody.
How do you activate your water, Dr.
You don't study the enemy for a plan. If you're studying the enemy for a plan, you ain't got one.
Period. Let me drink my water.
You ain't got one.
Okay.
You don't just run passes because the other team, right? Oh, wow. The other team, they can't run. So then we will run. No. What's your strength? Run your strength. You got to play your strength, whatever that is. Because what the other team will very soon figure out is all they're doing is running scared of us. Lord
okay. Thank you. On that, Chuck Schumer apparently had a book out. I didn't know he had a book, Dr. Black, but he was on book tour.
He was supposed to be touring, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know he had a book. I didn't know nobody that wanted to read the book, but, apparently he had a book, and this is all shade. All shade.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer at this point, irrelevant. That said, he had to postpone his book tour, and this is sad because this speaks to the helplessness and the fear and the anger and the anxiety that people have, that this man was getting death threats and he had to cancel his tour because not cancel, he's rescheduled. I don't know when you're going to schedule it again.
Right.
But he's supposed to be going to Maryland, New York, DC, Pennsylvania, California. Oh, his book is called Anti-Semitism in America, A Warning. Really? Okay. Well, anyway, no death threats. He doesn't deserve that because he's doing what he believes is right. Even if there's some personal push. I mean, I don't think we should be trying to, call for somebody's death because you don't agree with them. Like to me, that's a bridge too far.
The question is,
I didn't mind the children.
Right. See, the question is, do we think the death threats came from Republicans or Democrats?
I have no idea, but I think it's all ridiculous. You're making a point, though. You're making a point. I'm making an assumption. You're making a point. I don't know. I just think threatening people's lives because you don't agree with them is stupid. It's small. It's small.
It's small. But I believe it came from Democrats. But then, once again, what this shows is that the Republicans are sitting back saying the plan working. It's working. Oh,
yes. I didn't mind the people that showed up to his office peacefully to protest him. I thought a real leader would have come out and addressed them. Instead, he had them arrested. And I said, that is your problem. Talk to the people.
Talk to the people.
Have a conversation with them. The cameras are there. Listen, I'm fighting for you. Come out and show. I know y'all not reading my op-ed, but here's where you can come and protest me. This is America. This is what we do. This is fine. Instead, he had them taken out in handcuffs. I was like, this is your problem.
That's right.
This is this is why you can't lead.
That's
you're not equipped to even have a conversation with the people. Sit down. Nothing. I'm not saying you're dumb. I'm just saying that this is not the time for you.
That's right.
And your op-ed is right.
That's right.
All
And in
right.
fact, one of the things he said in that op-ed that I wrote down, that you said, Trump owns the chaos, right? No, Trump owns the clarity.
Say more.
We're not confused about Donald Trump. We just don't like it. We're not confused. Donald Trump is not unclear. Donald Trump is not unclear. We just hate what he's doing. See, if we're not careful, sir, the Democrats own the chaos. Because the chaos is when you can't get to clarity. When we cannot seem to find exactly what our footing, we can't find what we're doing. We can't get on one accord because there's so many tangential things going on all at once. That's chaos. Trump has the clarity. Now, it's the clarity I do not like, and I do not agree with it. But you're not unsure. We're not unsure what Trump believes, what he stands for. We're not unsure where he's going. There's no lack of clarity in Donald Trump. Let us be very clear here.
Which is even more telling that there's no plan.
That's right.
We were talking on Urban
Right.
View and other places about Project 2025. It took Taraji P. Henson on an award
That's
show
right.
to bring it
That's
up,
right.
and people go, "What's this Project 2020?" But we were talking about it for a year leading up to the election because they had a manifesto that was 900 pages.
manifesto.
People didn't read it, and they knew where they were going,
And
and they
ca- and
spelled
they-
it out for you, and then published it.
And they didn't care if you agreed or disagreed. Because here's the plan.
Correct.
It's the plan. What folks been saying, hey, Democrats, what's your plan? Whether people agree with it or not, what's the plan? The play may work, it may not. What's the play? Or are we just gonna say, hey, everybody just run and I'm gonna throw the ball and just look up and hope you see it? What?
Who's coaching this team? This team
Okay.
sucks. Wonder why you in last place.
That's
This
who
team
is
in last
coaching this
place.
team. That's right.
Oh my God, who is coaching this team? And I think that is another issue.
Yes. And you
I
said that
don't
earlier.
wait for permission. I'm not waiting for somebody to tell me something. I'm gonna have a plan and I'm gonna execute it. You either will get in where you fit in or
That's right.
contribute. But I'm
That's
not
right.
begging nobody
No.
to come. Oh, just beg, please, please, please,
No.
please, please,
No.
please. 866-801-8255. To your point, though, there's no coach.
That's it.
There's a lot of people. There are a lot of people. There's no and we need coaches. So let
We
me just
got
say
to
shout
have
out to the coaches, the teachers. By way, you're a coach in the classroom. I'm a
yes.
coach, but beyond that,
Absolutely.
yes, coaches are important. We need them. Good
And maybe people-
coaches win
and maybe people-
championships. Yes.
Maybe people are unclear about why you need a coach. Do you know, even if you're going to the Olympics, the Olympic athletes have a coach? Why am I bringing that up? Because the Olympic athletes are the best athletes in the world. Why, if you're that excellent, would you need a coach? Ooh, God Almighty. Because the job of a coach is to move you past your ego. Mhm. See, most things that people coach, the person they're coaching can perform the act better than they can. See, see, oh God. Listen, if you have a coach who's coaching swimmers, the swimmers will outswim the coach. See, a coach's job is to get you past your ego, because your ego is enough to make you lose your own race. I'm talking to somebody today. The coach's job is to get you past your ego so you can actually see the finish line, not your own glory and your own arrogance in getting there. That's what a coach is for.
So I just finished the second round of edits on a book about a young man who was born without tibias, and he's a triathlete, right? And we were just talking, we were going through this because he was worried about the person in this lane and that lane and the swim. But the coach worried about the time, because the time will qualify you. No matter what place you come in, it's
Listen,
the time that you have to focus on. Don't focus on the person left and right. Focus on the time. You're right. His coach was like, focus on the time, because you missed the time by seconds because you were worried about, you got defeated because you came in behind the person in the lane to the right of you.
I'm going to say it another way. In other words, you can beat everybody and still lose. That's it. Because when you're really, when you're really fighting for excellence, your competition is within.
I love you so much. All right, let's go to the phones. Dr. Black, I didn't know. I didn't know where we were going with this, y'all, but I knew we would get there because I focus on
every time.
I focus on the time. I ain't looking left and right. We're going to get there. The finish line is right there. And Dr. Black, you are...
Experience Karen Hunter
in a completely different way.
Karen Hunter is awesome. The podcast.
If you like me on SiriusXM Urban View Channel 126, you're gonna love me. And Karen Hunter is awesome. Hey, this is Karen Hunter, host of the Karen Hunter Show on SiriusXM's Urban View. Karen Hunter is awesome is an actual podcast to bring heat and energy and knowledge and power. A 1-2 punch that I don't think you get anyplace else. Tell the truth. Check out the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You will not be disappointed.